welcome to Catch You Outdoors. I'm your host, Captain Rob Modes. This podcast is about living and playing in the Florida Keys, a 125-mile-long chain of islands that runs from Key Largo all the way down to Key West. I cover my favorite sport, fishing, but also all the many things to see and do down here in the islands. Catch You Outdoors is hosted by Spotify, also brought to you by your favorite podcast network. So kick back and relax with me in the Keys. This week's episode of Catch You Outdoors is number 149. Hello all. Good morning, afternoon, evening. Again, depending on when you've tuned into the podcast. I'm recording this on Sunday morning, July 28th. Not going out today. Well, we might venture out and maybe head to the pool later on, but we did some fishing yesterday, and I'll get to that in a minute. I rarely do 2 days in a row. However, the weather has been really nice for a change. A little breezy, but you know, sunny and nice. We made it through Florida lobster mini season, which took place on the 24th and 25th. There was only one major mishap on the water when a diver snorkeler was struck by a boat under one of the bridges. Yeah, well, the diver, is in critical but stable condition up at Miami. Last I checked, which was last night. The investigation continues. The boater stopped to render aid. That tells you that it was an accident. If they run, that's a whole different ballgame. But he stopped to render aid and said that he actually did not see a dive flag and that the person in the water popped up right in front of the boat. And thank goodness he was going slow. And thank goodness it was a smaller boat. So it sounded like the lobster hunter may be the one at fault. And I believe he was hunting lobsters from the shore. I'll follow up on a later date, next week if I find out anything different or if it goes bad, I'll let you know. But it looks like from what I've read that we had somebody in the water without a dive flag, and then he heard the boat popped up to take a look and got hit by the daggone boat and the prop. It was not good. It's not good. Hopefully he'll be okay. This brings me to the rules. We've heard this a lot this past week, so I thought I'd pass along if you haven't heard it, depending on where you live. But if you're in open water, whether it's swimming, diving, snorkeling, you must display a dive flag as high as possible on your boat or on your person. The flag must also have a support that keeps the flag open. It's a wire that runs diagonally across the flag to keep it open. That way, even if the wind's blowing, obviously the flag is visible. But if it's calm, then the flag's obviously still not visible. So you got to have the little wire in there. There's also minimum flag sizes. You need to be aware of that. It varies from boats and diving, but there is a minimum size that can be used. If you're swimming from shore, you need to have a floating dive flag attached to you to let boaters know that you are under the water. This all seems like, common sense, right? Yeah. As a boater, you must stay at least 300 feet away from a flag. And please reduce your speed. Now remember, that's a football field away. That's not, most people that got asked over the week, like, how far do you stay? Everybody said 100 feet. That's not right. It's 300 feet. It's a football field. So keep that in mind. If you see a flag, you got to stay way away. And I would advise you to slow down too, just to make sure, you don't see anybody that's strayed from the water. Because as a diver, you need to stay within the 300-foot range of the boat. Okay. Now, obviously, if you're diving in on your own from shore, you're tethered. The flag is actually attached to you, so as you swim, it stays with you. But still, keep in mind it's a dangerous sport when there's a lot of people. In many seasons, there are a ton of boaters out there, thousands of boats, all trying to get lobsters, so it can be quite dangerous. As far as the mini season was concerned, it appears that the crowd of lobster hunters was a bit off this time around. No one seems to know why. Perhaps because the wind was up and the storms were around on Wednesday, and Thursday was a better day. Or maybe the locals got what they wanted during the mini season. If you hadn't heard about that, we were able to go out, I think it was on the 14th, if you were a local Floridian, and participate and get as many lobsters as is legal. 6 per person in the Keys, by the way. So they said maybe that cut into it a little bit. Or, and this is a big one, the cost of coming to the Keys for a week is getting a bit steep. No, it is steep. I'll rephrase that. And a lot of people used to come for the whole week. They would come down on the weekend before, come down Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then lobster on Wednesday, Thursday, and then head home Friday, Saturday, somewhere in that time. But they basically spend an entire week here spending money and food and boating and stuff. And I don't think that happened this time. I think the cost of living is up, not just to mention cost of vacationing, and especially in the Keys. At least if you're a couple, you're coming down with your boat. Now, there is the option, and I looked this up. If there's 6 to 12 people in your group, if you can put together a big group, then you can get away pretty easily with a whole lot less money and share a boat or two. Get a house, especially down in the Big Pine Key area. A lot of people do that. They'll get a nice big house on the water and have 8, 10, 12 folks, couples, staying at the house. That's one way to. But keep in mind, on your own, launch fees are way up. It's about $40 now to launch a boat. That's in and out. Some of them charge in and out fee. So if you put it in, there's a fee, and out's a fee. That's because a lot of people spend overnights on their boat. And of course, fuel price is up, way up. Well, gasoline's up. A lot of guys put special fuel in a boat that's corn free, as we like to call it, alcohol free. So keep that in mind too. I'll report more about the numbers when I see them. There are some tickets, arrests, fines for short lobsters, bag limits of 6 per person, that kind of thing. But overall, the arrest report that I heard on the radio, they always do a little report on Friday about like what happened, and how it went. And I didn't hear much, and I think they were pleasantly surprised that the illegal stuff, a lot of it last week was fishing off the bridges. People were taking short fish off of the bridges south of us all the way down to Key West, and they were being patrolled pretty heavily by the sheriff's office because people lobster under the bridges. So they were kind of keeping an eye on them. Then they found all these people with short fish, so I thought that was kind of ironic. Oops. Probably shouldn't fish on those 2 days if you're going to steal fish, so, what else? Let's see here. Oh, yes, this is important. Licenses are needed to lobster. A fishing license. You have to have your fishing license, and you have to have a tag to take lobster. And I was stunned at how many people didn't know this when asked about it. Oh, I thought you just go get up to 6 and you're good. Yeah, well, that's part of it. The other part is you have to have a fishing license, which means you have to carry that, and you got to carry your driver's license with you to prove who you are. So keep all that in mind. And that goes for fishing too. So this is new to some people, but yes, you need a fishing license in Florida. Weather-wise and moon-wise, the moon's half right now, which, we fished yesterday and the tide was ripping pretty good. So I don't know. That moon didn't seem to make a bit of difference. But sometimes when you get the half moon, that's the weakest of the days. When you get the little half and any of it other than full and new. But water moved pretty good yesterday, so I'm not going to complain about it. But just so you know, it's half moon right now. Will be, I believe it is, what is it doing right now? It is waning, so it's disappearing. It's going toward new. Saharan dust gave us a little break for a few days, and then it gave us a break and went away, I should say, and out popped the brilliant blue skies again, so it was very Keysy looking. But more dust is on the way. This limits rainfall, also helps to keep the tropical blows at bay. At least we hope so. Here comes August, and we have something to watch out in the Atlantic. The bubble is pointed at southern Florida, but the National Hurricane Center says that most computer runs as of right now are moving the potential storm slightly to the north. Plus, it's a long way. It's 7 days out before forming from now. But they've raised the percentage chance from 20 to 40% that something will form. Excuse me. But it's supposed to have a slightly north track. The computers are showing the spaghettis are going a little north, and then at the very end, as it approaches land, gets right to I think just before the Bahamas, it's supposed to start cranking north. So they say. We're still prepared. We stay that way. It's hurricane season. So, as a side note, I want to mention this. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the many amateur storm sites on the web, and man, there's a bunch of them. Most of them are what I call the sky is falling or hollering wolf sites. They get all crazy as soon as they see anything that's got a dot on it. And if you really want to know what's up, follow the daily updates on the National Hurricane Center. Remember, these guys that put these sites up, and I'm not going to fault them. They're weather freaks is what I call them. They love weather. Those are the same guys that track tornadoes and do all that fun stuff. You got to remember now, they're getting paid. They're online, and they are getting paid for hits and for people and for followers. And so, of course, the louder they yell and the more they wave their arms in the air about what's coming at Florida, the more people watch. Kind of like the news. Anyway, y'all get where I'm going here. So, just National Hurricane Center. Watch that. You'll get what's really happening. You'll get some of the computer tracks and stuff like that. So those of you living down here in Florida, don't freak out. Just stay informed, as I like to say. Fishing, yes, that is Janelle and I, made it out on Saturday, which for us was yesterday. It was pretty slow in the way back, where we managed to hook up with only 2 cudas and 2 jacks. One of the jacks was big. I had a nice battle with a big jack. But I got to tell you, back in the back, the water was a bit messy. There were some clear spots, grassy spots that looked nice, no fish. Where the water was a little mixed, some fish, and then it was muddy in some areas. You couldn't see down a foot. We had a lot of wind last week out of the southeast, so that could have stirred it. But it was just unusual, really, really unusual. And the fishing there was terrible. So we decided to make a break for it and head out into the pretty water, as I like to call it, in lower Florida Bay. So basically, you're still in Everglades National Park, but you're coming down out of the woods and going out into the open Florida Bay. And that's where we found fish. We got on a couple grass spots out there, some great big grass flats. Got some really nice sea trout and some ladyfish mixed in, and we were real busy for about an hour, I'd say. And then the weather started getting weird, which, by the way, the weather guy was wrong again. Geez, man, I'm having a hard time with the weather people out of Miami. They supposed to be 5-mile-an-hour wind, right? And calming in the late afternoon. It was blowing 15 to 20. By 10 a.m., rocking the boat, whitecaps on Florida Bay. It was ridiculous. I'm like, okay. And Janelle looked at me and she says, we should go. We're too old for this crap. We can't get beat up like that. And the ride back, that's a good 30-minute ride back to the dock from where we are. And it can be rather choppy. So, yes, we wussed and head back. But we had a good morning. I mean, we had a real good morning. So, but I sure wish they'd get their forecast straight. I don't know what the deal is. That's happened more and more lately. We both caught fish using Gulp swimming mullets. Yes, the usual pink shine on golden-eyed jigs from Z-Man. That's their trout eye. They call them the trout eye jig. I think these were 1/4 ounce we were using. And I got back to fly fishing. When we got out on that big open flat, I got the fly rod out, and I finally got to the table too, I should mention, and I tied up, for those that aren't aware, tying flies. Okay, so there's a vise, and especially during the cruddy weather, it's a great time to tie flies. So I came up with an idea to tie one that's pink, obviously. I made a design highlighting pink because I've had success with it over about a half year now with my spinning tackle, namely the Swimming Mullet Pink Shine, which is a pink and white smeared combo. You have to look them up on the web and look at it. It's kind of a weird deal. Actually, some of them I've been getting are half pink, half white. There's white on one side, pink on the other, but whatever, it works. So I sat down at the bench and the vise and started tying. I'm going to post a photo. So the podcast comes out on Tuesday, and I usually get photos up on Wednesday. So watch for photos to pop up on Catch You Outdoors on Facebook, and you'll see what it looks like. It's basically, I took the recipe of the Clouser minnow, which is still one of my favorites to fish with, has been forever. But I made a twist with it. I put a little larger eye on it to get it to sink faster. The eye is also golden, shiny gold. I didn't use one of the painted eyes or a barbell lead one with a little paint and a dot for the iris on it. I went ahead and just used an honest-to-goodness golden barbell that I found at a shop. And I spun it up with 3 hairs instead of 2. Most Clousers are 2 hairs. They'll usually be white as a base, typically. And then tires will add a little green to that, or a yellow, or a pink, or red, or brown, or whatever. You don't see a whole lot of them with 3. So I did a 3-color thing. I started with white, and then I added a very light pink, and then a hot pink, and mixed those together with just a tiny little bit of pink Crystal Flash. Crystal Flash is a stringy, reflective material. It's real thin like thread, but when the light hits it, it flashes all different colors off of it. And I found one that's mostly pink in color, so I used that. It worked. Let me tell you what, it worked. The bright gold eyes, for the time being, I've nicknamed it the golden eye. There is another golden eye fly out there that doesn't have gold eyes, which puzzled me. I looked it up on the web. So, does anybody else name one the golden eyes? Just sounds logical. And this guy had one. It looks really good, by the way, but doesn't have a golden eye, so I'm not sure where he was coming with that. He just liked the name. So I've nicknamed it that. And I landed about 8 or 9 sea trout and a couple ladyfish while using it. And I'll also post a picture of one of the trout. It's a small trout, but I have one of the trout with it where he tried to eat the whole damn thing. There's little pieces of hair hanging out that are obviously pink out of his mouth. But all the trout did that. They attacked it. And I'm really happy to see that. So now I got to get out. We would have stayed longer if the wind had calmed. Oh, and it started raining too. I forgot to mention that. We had storms coming in off the Atlantic all in the middle of this mess. But anyway, I want to go back out and try to hit the snook area that we've found, that we've done pretty well in, and try it in there and see what happens there. I don't see why it wouldn't, since it works so well for the trout. And a lot of times with flies, it's not what you tie, it's how you wiggle it. It's how you use it once you get it in the water. The trick is to figure out the formula of how large a strip you do on the line when you're pulling it in. Do you do a long strip, short strips, quick, short? You have to kind of come up with a formula. And those trout were hitting it on the down. I would do a nice long strip, let it fall, and bang. I wasn't even hardly having to move it very much. They liked it. They liked it a lot. And I was happy to see that. And I have to mention at this point, Janelle got a really nice trout. I took a picture and I put it on Facebook. Go look. She didn't get out. No, I'm gonna kidnap her during the week. Get her out there early in the morning, go fishing for a few hours, and then send her to work. She's perfectly capable of doing that. So, then I'm gonna make her retire. One of the two. I got to get her back on the water more. There's no doubt about that. Let's see. Next on the list. The Saturday red tide report came out yesterday. No hits from coastal Florida. More good news. It's great to report this. Hopefully it will continue for a long while. It's really nice to have a report where you just have not seen any red tide. Some of my listeners might not be aware that ICAST was happening this past week up in Orlando. This is the enormous annual fishing trade show that only dealers and media can attend. No, I didn't plan going this time around. I think I've mentioned that before. I'll probably go next year. Not so much just to see the fun new stuff, but to actually see my old friends. It's an industry thing with industry people. So it's social media, fisher folks, people that work in tackle shops, advertisers, things like that. It's not the Joes off the street. It's just media people or people that are invested in fishing. And the stars are there from TV, all that kind of stuff. It's really fun. So I think I'm going to go next year, but this year things just got in the way. I did comment to Janelle, though, that even not going, I was seeing all the equipment and everything that was going to be brought out because I'm on the manufacturer's mailing list from being at the show so many times. So I was privileged to see a bunch of stuff right from my desk at home. However, like I said, still fun to go. So most likely next year. So I made some notes and things of interest, and I'll talk about those right now, things that I saw come across my desk and that were broadcast from iCast to those of us that are in the know to show us like, hey, look what's coming. This is kind of cool. So I'm going to get into that right now. And listen, if you want to do it yourself, all you got to do is do iCast. It's the letter I, CAST, all one word, iCast, and then just put winners. WINNERS, ICAST winners or show winners, and a whole bunch of stuff will pop up from the voting that went on during the show of what was the best of what in what category. Does that make sense? Hope so. Okay, here we go. I had to pull this up on on my laptop. There's too much to print, man. I put stuff in my notes, but this is crazy. So let's see. The novelties. Garmin USA has a watch out, a smart watch, and it's pretty awesome. Underwater, find your way around. Basically, hunters, fishermen, people like that don't want to have a big old GPS on the boat can put it on their wrist. Let's see. Oh, footwear. Aftco, a real popular company for making all kinds of outdoor clothing, came up with an ankle boot, a deck boot that goes up to your ankle that looks really good. Non-slip, easy to put on and take off. That's a big deal. Most of these boots that you wear to wade the flats, they go right on. But boy, you ever try to take one off? No. A big surprise, Bahio sunglasses. That's spelled BAJIO, Bahio sunglasses. By Roca, ROCA 1. So that's a sunglass company I had never even heard of. It's good to see somebody getting into the competition because there's only a few that people buy right now. So that was kind of neat. Let's see, AFCO 1 for women's soft shell cover up. Sims 1 for a SolarFlex Guide cooling hoodie. This is kind of neat. It's a hoodie shirt you put on, but it's got the cooling material. When it gets wet or when you sweat, it cools off. I thought, wow, I could have used that yesterday. Soft and hard coolers. This thing called Packback, PACBAK. It's the P88 MK combo. This is a backpack for hiking that's also a cooler, and I thought that was really pretty cool. Let's see what else we got here. I'm kind of looking down the list. Oh, terminal tackle. Guess what? Z-Man, yeah, jig heads. Only this time, it wasn't the trout eye, but it's very similar. It's called the Diesel Eye Jig Head. So basically, it's a pointed. It's not a round eye. It's more like an arrow shape, but it has those same eyes on the side of it for holding it. I'm going to have to check it out. It looks to me like this is something you would normally use skipping across the bottom, not so much jigging up in the water with it. This looks like something that you can hit the sand with. You Pompano people, you might want to check this thing out. It's called the Z-Man Diesel, DIEZEL. They like to use the Z and everything. Eye jig head, so check that one out. Let's see what else is on here. It looks really interesting. Saltwater hard lure, live target, the live shrimp. Yep. It looks like a daggone shrimp. Everything Live Target does is amazing, so that's all I need to say. Yeah, be sure to check it out. Let's see, saltwater rod. Believe it or not, an ugly stick carbon inshore rod. Yeah, saltwater rod. The freshwater rod with St. Croix. That's like a switcheroo in my book. Okay, everybody kind of looks at ugly stick as a freshwater rod. It's notorious across the lakes up north. People bring them down here and they corrode. Something awful happens to them. And then the flip side of that is St. Croix rods are pretty much known as a big salt rod down here. That was the first rods I used when I was a guide. And, now St. Croix won the Legend Tournament Bass Rod for freshwater, and in the saltwater, Ugly Stick under Pure Fishing won the carbon inshore rod. So, yeah, there you go. Anytime you think you've got it figured out, you don't. Best saltwater reel, pin. Not surprised. The Authority spinning reel. That's one of those sealed reels. It's got the round knob handle on it. I'm not the least bit surprised. I like pin a lot and always have. Let's see who else in reels. Freshwater. Oh, now here you go. See, look at what is this? Freshwater. The Stella, the Shimano Stella, the FK. The Stella is well known in the saltwater fishing community as one of the finest reels on the market. It won freshwater. And fly reels, let's see, Hardy. Really, that's cool. The Hardy Fortuna Regent saltwater fly reel. Hardy is a British company that made some of the very, very early fly reels. My grandfather had several of them in his collection. So those would have been from the 1940s, 1950s. And I still have a couple. They're beautifully made. So that's really interesting to see a a hearty pop up. So there you go. That was just one of the pages I turned on. That's some of the winning stuff that was there. There's all kinds of information online. All you got to do is just do a search on iCast. You can do winners or just do a iCast presentation, something like that, and you'll get to see quite a bit of stuff because now it's not a secret. Now the show's over and things are going to hit the market. And by the way, a lot of this stuff you see, where are we now? We're getting on August. You're probably not going to see some of this stuff till Christmas. It's going to be the earliest I've ever seen stuff show up is like October, but most of the time it's going to be November, December, right around Christmas time before some of these things hit the market. But there you go. So have fun. Get on the web and take a look yourself. My book, What I Know About Fishing the Florida Keys, is now available on my website at catchyoutoutdoors.com. Already selling very well. Thank you, folks that have ordered your books. I really appreciate it. Get your signed first release copy while you can. I only ordered 100. No worries, though. The unsigned copy is now available on Amazon. Ta-da! Last week I mentioned a request to play more music. It was actually in one of the questions. I did a little segment last week on the questions that I get asked. So if you didn't listen to that, go back and listen. People ask, how come you don't play bumper music? How come you don't play music like you did on your radio show? The in and out music, as some people call it. The radio people call it bumper. When you're getting ready to go to an ad, you play music. When you're ready to come back, you play a little bit of music. And usually it's a piece of something familiar, something that people have heard, popular on the radio. Can't do that. I'm not licensed to do that. Licenses are expensive. And so I play my stuff, and I'll play somebody's stuff with permission. I mean, if they give me the permission to play it, then I'll do that. But I thought what I'd do is I'm going to start working on local artists and getting snippets of their songs and asking them if they would like me to play it on my podcast. And I've come up with a name, the Local Music Roundup is what I'm going to call it. I don't know if I'll start next week or not. I'm still working on the details and the legalities of it, but I don't see any problem with being able to play original music from people locally who agree to have a portion. I'm not playing the whole song, and the song will not be downloadable from me. The song will simply be a portion of the song played so that you can get a little idea of what it's like. We have a lot of great musicians down here, tons of them, from Key Largo to Key West. Some of these people have played with big bands on big albums and in big studios up in Nashville and places like that. I keep running into people that have helped me out with my songs, and it's just remarkable who's down here. And I thought it would be great to add this and also throw in who's playing where. Not everybody. You can't do that in the Keys, but maybe a couple stops in Key Largo, a stop or two in Alamrada, then Marathon, and then Key West. Just who's at the bar, who's somebody you might want to see while you're down here. And if you haven't seen them live, maybe you can get online and do a YouTube, take a look at them online and do it that way. Because I'm constantly introducing people that visit our house, a new artist on YouTube, and they're all like, wow, that dude's great. I'm like, yeah, they are. And they're just kind of hidden away, Everybody would love to make the big break, right? But, what are the odds? Not real good. So I think I'm going to start that up real soon. Again, I'm going to call it the Local Music Roundup. I'll showcase local artists from the Keys, what they're doing, some locations where they're playing. Have they appeared on other people's albums? Have they appeared on other people's songs? So you can kind of get an idea of who they are. And work on that. Most of you that know me know my love of music. I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. Thank you to the letter writer who sent me the question about music. That's what got me stirred. And so I'll start that as soon as possible. Before I jump into useless information, I want to pass along another recent discovery. A short film was re-released on YouTube called All That Is Sacred. Write that down. All That Is Sacred. It's about the early artists, writers, fishing folks in Key West. It's very good. It also includes a bit of film from the movie called Tarpon, which was, I don't know if Tarpon was ever really released. There are bootlegs. I think people were able to get it on CD for a while, on DVD rather for a while. But there are little segments of Tarpon, which was remarkably filmed. This is about the Keys bohemian, the craziness that went on in the Keys in the very late 60s, 68, 69, into the 70s, including Jimmy Buffett and a whole lot of other people that were just down there messing around, partying, and writing. And it was utterly fascinating. I really enjoyed it. It's about a 35, 40-minute film. Boot it up, turn it on. It gives you a really good idea of what Key West was like way, way back in the day. It's changed quite a bit now, although the music scene and the writing scene is still there. But this gives you a good idea of where all these people came from, and I really enjoyed watching it myself. I recommended it out, and I got some really positive feedback to people that got to watch it and said, yeah, so I thought I'd put it out here, give everybody a shot at it. I also want to mention that this is not the film Tarpon. This is pieces of the film, very few actually, pieces of the film Tarpon in it. This is a film on its own. So yeah, I wanted to let, because the impression that some people had when this thing first hit, this is financed by Yeti, is who did this. I don't know who produced it. I'm not sure, but at first the whole thing was, oh, that's that Tarpon movie. No, it's not. It's just tiny little pieces of the Tarpon movie. So anyway, take a look.
And now, from the original book of useless information.
You are a reject! You are useless! You can get a job down here cleaning toilets!
Here's your host, Captain Rob Modes.
Well, he swears up and down he's useless, but
he might be all right eventually, but completely useless.
With useless information.
This is more random, open the book and go, oh, this is interesting. During the American Revolution, many brides used to wear the color red instead of white as a symbol of rebellion. Morocco was the first country to recognize the United States in 1789. I did not know that. John Hancock was one of only 50 signatories of the Declaration of Independence who actually signed it in July. And last but not least, the first aerial photograph was taken from a balloon during the Civil War. And there you go. And before I go, some final words. I got emails on this too. Thank you for doing that. Like, okay, it was an afterthought. I couldn't just drop off at the end of useless information into the void, So I had to blabber a little bit. August is upon us. It's hot. It's hot everywhere. Get outside and enjoy the outdoors while you can. It's going to snow. It's going to turn to ice. I've watched more and more people online start to play videos from their past winter, and I find it somewhat hilarious that they are having the sense to say, hey, and this is going to happen up north a whole lot quicker. I got friends. I have a daughter who lives up in Canada. Come August, it's going to get a lot cooler up there. Come September, it's going to get really cool. And in some areas in the mountains, it can start snowing. So, you need to enjoy what you got while you got it. Travel if you can. Get out and see something. Don't stay cooped up in the house. Jump in the car and go for a ride somewhere, even if it's close by. I feel the same way about boats. You got a boat? You haven't been on it in a while? Not even sure if it'll start? Go check it out. Clean it up. Start the boat. Get out on the water. The time is short. This is going to be over. You're going to get back to school and all the crazy stuff that happens in the fall, and then we start roaring into Thanksgiving and roaring into Christmas. So get it done while you can. I'll talk to you all next week. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed listening, please tell a friend, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The Facebook page is Catch You Outdoors. The website is catchyoutdoors.com, where you can find all the previous podcasts and a schedule of what's to come. Until next time, get outdoors and enjoy.